Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm Daniel and we will continue our character modeling project. So where we left off, we just did some colors, if you remember. Now I want to give you a quick addition to what we learned that day. So I made a quick light setup, which is just a sun lamp and the same material that we created yesterday, or I don't know when the video was posted, but when the video was uploaded, the last one. So this time we're going to look at cell shading just really quick and then continue right away with the cloth. So take a color ramp and put it in here, and the other thing you will need is a RGB mix node, and then connect the vertex color to here and the color ramp below. Then set this to multiply, and now there's only one thing left to do. Just move these two bars close together, and depending on where you move them, you get a different you can kind of shift it around this border, so you can have more shadow or less shadow, or have it smoother or harder. So I like to keep it a little bit smooth, and just find the right position. Now one last thing you can do is, if you take the red and give it just a little bit of a tint, you give it an interesting effect. It looks a bit more like skin because you fake no, what was I saying? You kind of fake the subsurface scattering by doing that. I mean, it's not really like that, but if you would compare it to reality, that's kind of where it would jump in. So there you go, you have a quick, cool looking cell shaded material. By the way, just for explanation, this here isn't necessary, but I found that it gives it a really good effect because darker areas will have more shadow, brighter areas will have less shadow, and that's why you can see here that these shadows aren't, even. They are completely different, which makes it look a bit better in my opinion. So let's continue now. Let's make this small again. We don't want to look at this for now. So as you can see, I've updated my reference in the back. I've now the version with clothes. You can get the reference from the same place where you got the other references from. And we're going to model now some clothes. And I think we're going to start with the pants. So let's figure out a way to do that. Now, good thing about having already a piece of cloth here is that we can just copy it and use it as a base, since the topology is quite similar. Once I've copied it, I'll just make it a little bit larger so that we really are on top of everything else. And now building up upon that, we'll create this. Now let's start with, is it mirrored? Yeah, it is. Just make sure it is, then you can start modeling. So from this loop, we're just going to extrude downwards. Very simple, and we don't need to care too much about the subdivisions yet and how they have to be right on top of the skin. Just do it roughly so that you have already everything in place. And well, it's kind of hard to check at the moment, but you might want to use the proportional editing tools to really get it right. But just look at this, final edge. You don't need to look at anything else, well, except the vertices that we have already placed before. Those should not be moved. Only transform this here. So after a bit of playing around with this, you should end up with something like that. Now we want to give it a subdivision and do the same thing again. And this time you can give it a little bit of a distance just to make sure that they're not interfering with each other. And again, at this point, we're not caring too much about how we're going to rig this later on. We just want to get the shapes right as good as possible. So as soon as we get to rigging, that is a different matter again, and we'll have to fix lots of issues here and there. So I'm making things smooth here now, just to get things even. Obviously I'll need to get back the lost volume, as always when you do smooth lots of things. And then it's time for some details. So let's just check if size of everything is correct. So we might want to make it a little bit longer and, you know, give it some variation. It shouldn't be completely perfectly straight, this lower part. That would look unrealistic. And now let's model the details. So there are a few challenges. One of those would be, you know, the wrinkles over here. So we'll definitely need some more detail in this area. So I created a loop cut. I will start it first with things like wrinkles and other details that really change the entire surface. Later on, I will create these kind of seams and other stuff. Because it's easier that way. You just don't have to go back and fix what you've created already that way. Yeah, so we'll need wrinkles on both sides, just placed a little bit different. So over here we have a bit of a problem. Since we have all the loops now focused on top, we kind of need to manage to get them all down. But that's not easy, as you know, there are quite lots of vertices that we have to take care of. So I really like to use the double G tab. So if you press G once, you can move a vertex. If you press it twice, you can slide an edge or a vertex along its neighbor edges. So that's pretty useful here, as you can see, because I don't lose the shape while I can still transform those points. So now it might soon be alright. And actually I'm going to add another loop cut here and use it to create the wrinkles. Since this one is going to be quite a bit flatter. So we will have to try out a few things here to really get it right. As you can see, I just decided to make the wrinkles a bit lower short after when I started to make them, but that's fine. You don't need to have everything correct right away. Just play around and figure out good ways to solve it. Now here obviously we have again too great density of vertices. You could see it from in object mode that there is a kind of a corner, so we want to smooth things here. Just make sure that you don't intersect with the mesh below. That's important. It seems like we got a little bit of room still to work on this. So this looks kind of good. Now let's go for, let's quickly create these seams here. I think we might just be able to put them here and it will be good. I will just go back again and move this one little piece to over here to make it look a little bit more straight, but that is pretty good. So I'm making two cuts here, and the one in the middle I'll try to move inwards and see whether this works or not. You have to kind of decide on how sharp you want to make those. If they're too sharp, it might look bad again. If they're too smooth, you yeah, it will not look like a seam again, so find out a good way to show them. That's probably a bit too strong, so what I'm going to do is raise that edge again, but make it sharper. Yeah, and I'm kind of happy with this result here. So that's that. Now let's make something similar here in the middle, just with the fact that it's kind of behaving differently. And because the width of it is, varying so much, I'm going to scale it along x by, 0.1 or something. So that way we still have some variation in position, but nothing too much. Then I'll do it again right next to it and move it a little bit back. And then with these two selected, I'll use shrink and fatten and see if this kind of works. And it does, and I think it went pretty well. So now we just have to figure out a way to make the shape of this part look correct. I mean, it shouldn't be, it's not the same kind of cut as here, but this works for me. This is pretty good. Now in the original reference we have also a cut over here, but as we're still using mirror modifier, we have to leave it out for now. But just keep in mind, if you really want to go far with the details, you have to consider these things and not forget them towards the end. So the next thing that we need is this belt area, and we actually are already at the height of it, so we have already included it in this. So we have to work our way down again, and I'll start by making this loop even with an even thickness so that we can base that belt area on it. And now one thing that we kind of need to figure out is what to do with those seams, that area, because of course they disappear. Now one thing you can do is to just continue them, but towards the side. So I'm going to delete these and just connect them as if there was nothing. And I will do something similar here. And of course, I guess I'll have to delete this one. Alright, and well, let's do that one a bit later. By the way, I'm wondering whether we need something over here as well. I have the feeling that, well, we're not seeing that seam. I have the feeling that if this was a real piece of cloth, that you would have a seam here as well. Or I don't know, maybe in the back or somewhere. But let's leave it. The only part where I'm going to add a seam is down here, but that one will not interfere with this anyways. So just add this, and then everything except these I'm going to move, actually only these ones I will move up, and then the ones over here I'll move to the side. And I guess they're quite transformed, so deformed, so let's use proportional editing to solve our problems again. Alright. So sorry for this. These videos are getting longer. I really start forgetting to look at the time, but I guess it's alright. This is so long already anyways. Whoever is still watching, you're amazing. You have a great amount of, what do you call it? Patience, right? Hopefully you really learned something from this. So I'm going to make another loop around everything from here to there. Okay, we need to break this up after all. So just delete these two faces, and then over here I'll add a loop, and I will use shrink and fatten to make it stick out, and then merge these. And now I wonder how we should connect them. You know, we could do this here, just connect it like that, but that's not good. That doesn't support really our structures. Let's add another one and try this kind of structure instead. And this one works pretty well. So we're going to try to apply that on all the areas here and see whether it does or does not work. The only other option would be to separate it and do it in a different object, but that's, with characters you should try to keep everything you can in one object. It's just so much easier later on. Yeah, and if you're wondering why for me everything was separated in objects, that's just the workflow that I like to use, and we're probably later going to connect lots of things again together, and in the end it will be just a few objects. So I'm merging here all the things again, and I'm wondering whether to connect these as well or not, but I think I'm leaving them for now. So the only thing we do need though is, well, this is kind of a difficult situation again. Let's see. Yeah, we cannot really, or do we? Can we connect them? Okay, I'll take a look at here and take it as reference and see whether I can apply it or not. We should be able to apply it actually. I'm kind of doing something wrong here. I think this one should be splitted. And if it is, we could, do this here. And then we could connect them like that. And then there's this last thing, and I'm going to delete these after all and move these together instead and close it. Well, there is a slight issue, but it turns out to work pretty well, so I'm leaving it as it is. Or actually, I wonder if it's really an issue or not. It might be just fine. But it looks good, so it's alright. Now, this is actually the same situation, but for some reason it looks a lot simpler over here. I mean, that's really it. So what did I do on the other side? Oh, I see. On the other side I wanted to have this kind of step in there. Alright, let's see if we can do that here, because that was kind of important after all. So we make a step here and add one more loop to really sharpen it. And then to close the area we will need to, yeah, probably again just join these together. No, not, wait a second, let me look it up. Alright, so we join these as well. And then, what do we do then? Let's delete this one, it's distracting us. This one as well. Let's connect these maybe. No, that's not working out. Why is this so difficult? So, back to over here. Let's try to remember it this time. So these have to be connected. I mean, there is not much choice about that. And as for over here, alright, this one loop should go up and over. And I'm kind of missing one. Oh, that's it. Yeah, I was missing one over here. So now it should all fall into place. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. That was difficult. But we managed to fix everything. Alright, I have no idea how long this part is already. Let's just finish this already. I mean, I'm so tired of making all these parts. I just want to continue and get this done finally. I mean, I enjoy making it, but I'm sure you don't enjoy listening to me for so many hours. There we go, there we go. So one thing we're not going to model is the holes, you know, in the belt, because they're just too fine detail. And you know, if we'd render it for an animation, you would just do it in form of texturing. If it was a 3D print, you would probably have not enough detail to actually be able to see them, or you know, you could just drill them later or whatnot, or once you're done, just add them when all the modifiers are applied and such. So there it is. There is our work of today. Few things I want to fix is this makes it look really smooth, but you know, cloth is not something that smooth. You should try to keep those just sharp from its contours so that viewers really get the right impression of the cloth. So better shape it like that. So it looks much better now. Okay, one last thing. This one part here. I will start off by duplicating just a face from this here and separate it into a new object. Then in the new object, let's quickly make this a quad, and you can make something a quad just by scaling it along, you know, the axis that it is facing, like so. It kind of didn't work by 0. Oh, I've caps on. So I have scaled it by 0. I'm going to scale this one by 0 as well, and this one along Z by 0, and this one. And now it's perfectly a quad. And now you can, you know, just do whatever you normally do to model things. This should be good. Then here we need a couple of cuts. I'm deleting this one again, and the last thing should be moving these ones out. And that's kind of the shape we have here. Now I want to make it a bit sharper everywhere, so you know, you could do it without subdivision surface modifier, and that would probably be better, just because I have everything now set up already. I'm keeping it though. So it looks pretty good. I mean, you want to have these kind of smooth edges anyways, because they make it kind of look more real, because real objects never have perfect edges, but it wouldn't have hurt as well. So actually, you know what we should have what we should have done was creating those parts on the side as well before rotating it, because once you rotate it, you have trouble lining things and lining it up and whatnot. So at this point, by the way, you can use a mirror modifier along add side axis as well, but I'm not going to do that on second thought, because our center is in the center of the scene and I don't really want to move it around, so that's fine. So that was quickly done. I'm not quite happy with the thickness of it though, so I'm adjusting it. Then again, I'll add loop cuts to make it sharp and define the shape. And we're done. You just don't want to make it too sharp after all, because you know it has to kind of match the style of the other things over here. So if you're not perfectly correct here, don't be on these parts. Just enough. Right, that's good. Now let's move it to the belt and place it here. It's kind of not there yet. Can make sure nothing sticks out again. And after playing a little bit with it, we should end up with something like that. And we're done, and it looks pretty good. And here's a quick, I don't know, this is kind of looking weird. I'm going to delete the material from this object because, you know, we didn't make it prepared for here yet. So just so that we don't get confused by anything from here as well. So these are the unfinished parts. Great, that's done. Thank you for watching as always. I hope you enjoyed this video, and again, I'll see you in the next part where we'll continue molding the clothes. Have a good day.